again. Today is a special day. Today is Friday. Another Friday in the COVID-19 pandemic. And I am so excited because today we have a special guest. He's a good friend who started off not being a good friend. I didn't even know him. But then he trusted me, and then things got crazy. And before I even present him, let me show you what I'm talking about. Dude was in show business, and then he left show business. But he can tell us in person what this is all about. So welcome, Stephen Shipley. You're
Yes,
on
sir.
live.
Yes, sir. How are we?
You're looking good, my friend.
Trying to. The beard now keeps me a little puffy. Before it was what hid my chins, and now I want to get it off, but I'm waiting until after quarantine to shave it all down.
You're looking good, dude. So you saw that picture I put up.
Yes, sir. Yeah,
All right.
I love that one.
So
Oh my
so
gosh.
tell me about it. First of all, you're in the voice studio, right?
Yeah, that one on the left was my last season working at the or second to last, I believe, working at the Voice. For the last 8 years, I've been doing audience coordination. For 10 years, I've been working in entertainment. Worked on concerts, Maroon 5, all that, Beach Boys. Worked on shows like The Voice, VMAs, Jimmy Kimmel for the last 7 years. Um, and yeah, I mean, when I started getting my health back and get my hope back in here, it really switched my passion. I started finding myself slowly falling out of love with entertainment for no other reason except the love that was growing for cooking and nutrition and the knowledge I was getting. So I quit my job. I signed up for culinary school. I was supposed to start this month, but that got postponed a little bit, which is okay. And yeah, so now I'm looking to hopefully someday dive into the world of fresh food and culinary for fresh organic fruits and vegetables. Start for the study there.
All the stuff we love to talk about. But by the way, so when you were working show business, you actually know all these famous people?
No is a loose term thrown around a lot here in LA. We bumped into each other a few times. Yeah, there was a lot of times where we'd be in the same tight quarters. You know, on big sets like The Voice, you have over 400 employees, so a lot of people bump into each other. But for the most part, yeah, they're all pretty cool people. That was definitely a fun gig. I could say it definitely kept me from probably going up into the 600-pound range because I was very active, but unfortunately my appetite outdid the activity. But
So do these guys, have you seen these guys after your transformation?
not a lot. I've seen a few of them. You know, I worked a show called Ridiculous on MTV, Ridiculousness, and my last day on Ridiculousness was the day before my surgery. And then when it picked back up, it's an MTV show. When it picked back up, the whole crew didn't recognize me. The talent came up to me like, "Hey, I was looking at you from the dressing room. I didn't even notice that was you." And, you know, I had shed about 100 pounds at that point. And yeah, so I even have really good friends of mine that, you know, we would go out and they wouldn't talk to me for the first few hours. And then I would realize they just didn't recognize me. And I had to reintroduce myself. Hey, man, it's Big Steve. Like, you know, not so Big Steve anymore.
Well, you're still tall, dude. You're a big guy.
I still got the height.
Yeah, you got the height. In fact, you were telling me just recently you could actually carry me around all day and all evening long because you lost 200 pounds. That's what I weigh, man. 200 pounds.
It's weird to put it in perspective. Sometimes I'll lift something, I'll be at the gym or something lifting, I'll think, oh, this is heavy. I'll look at the weight and be like, oh, that's only like a, you know, quarter of what I lost.
You're what is it, close to 200 pounds in how long?
I had the surgery in September of last year. I started the pre-op in July. So I say it all kind of I start my time in July. But yeah, the last time I weighed myself, I was at 228, which is, I started at 425. And so we were closing in, and then I decided to stop looking at the scale because I kind of realized I'm doing this more for my lifestyle. So when I came here to this house I'm watching, I left the scale at home, and I'm just, you know, if I constantly work out and eat healthy, there it is, man. That picture on the left, I was not happy taking that one. But yeah, I realized if I want to just keep eating healthy and working out without obsessing about the number, and then next time I jump on the scale, whatever happens, happens. But I know that I did the best I could, regardless of what the outcome was.
So that was how. So, all right. So tell us your story, man, because people are like, I'm raving about you, Stephen Shipley. He's on the show, and everybody's like, who the hell is he?
It's crazy. I grew up always a little bit bigger. I wasn't heavy. I wasn't the biggest. I wouldn't call myself obese by far, but I was a little heavier than the other kids, which led to a lot of the ridicule. The ridicule led to me believing the false things that people were saying about my body. And when you start believing it, it starts becoming truth, and your habits start curving a little bit. And year by year, I saw myself getting worse and trying to scale down and scale down. When I moved out of the house, I had no more parents and no one really watching when I was eating. I didn't really have the guilt trip. I let myself go, and I caved into the stress eating and anxiety eating and depression eating and happiness. Every occasion led to eating for me. And it gained on pretty. When I moved to LA, I was probably about 275 pounds, 280 pounds. And within months, I was up to 300. Within a year, I was up to 350. Within 2 years, I was up to 400 pounds. And I at that point, it's really hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel, to see the hope. When you're looking down at that scale and you see the fours start popping up.
What was it? How long? In a couple of years, you gained all that weight?
I would say I was climbing away to the 300. I wasn't really good on the scale because I hated it, so I didn't really log it correctly. But I would say I was close to 300 when I moved to LA, and that was about 8 years ago. And I hit 400 about 3 years in, I think. And then I weighed myself, and then I stopped weighing myself when I hit 400. I believe I probably went up to 450 at one point. But my highest recorded weight was sitting at 425. And that, there's a moment when you look at that and you look at everyone around you and the little hints people have been giving you, and you start seeing that you're being treated differently and your life has been restricted by all this. And I remember my parents were telling me for some time, talking to me about gastric sleeve, and I kept saying, I want to do it organically. Like, I want to lose weight naturally. I don't want to do the surgery. There was a point with my mental health where I said, I need help. And it's funny because people tell you to look for help in most ways, but in weight loss regards, there tends to be a little negative look on when you look for surgical help to get out of a bad mindset that you were stuck in. And I think there's a mass misunderstanding of how difficult it is to actually succeed with gastric sleeve. It doesn't just fix it for you. You still deal with food addictions. You still deal with addiction transfer. If you do quit, you've got to be careful. If you lean into alcohol too much, if you lean into marijuana, whatever you use, there's going to be that addiction transfer, relying on something new. There's a whole different set of struggles that comes with losing this through surgery versus organically. Because I've lost before almost 100 pounds organically, and it was very difficult. But this is, I would say, way more difficult than that. But the reward is much bigger.
How so? How is it more difficult? Because I mean, you did incredible. You are probably at your weight loss goal at this point.
Yeah, my weight loss goal given to me by OCC was 250. That was my height. That was what they wanted me to get to. I wanted to push for 235 because I want to be able to do things with a weight limit of 250 and have this little bungee room. And but now I'm just, I'm kind of done with the weight itself. I'm done focusing on the weight, and I just want to focus on my lifestyle. I want to live the way I feel.
You said it, brother. It's a lifestyle thing. Here's what, over 20 years of me doing this, I know you might say that I am extremely young. Over 20 years of doing this, I try to be young at least at heart, right?
I thought we were the same age.
Exactly, obviously. one of the things that I've learned is that you're totally correct. Food can be an addiction, and people use it to for emotions, to soothe themselves, self-soothing, etc. So it's so complex, and a lot of people, once they lose the ability to eat those vast amounts of quantities, they're going to lose their best friend.
Yeah.
Uh, so and that's what you were saying. But the other thing that over the 20 years of doing this, it's not getting any better. It's getting worse, man. We all in adult population in the US, 50% have pre-diabetes or diabetes. 50% of the adults have cardiac disease. That's really bad, man. And
It's
then
horrible.
and then I have by the way, then I have a lot of folks that look down to us because we do surgery in Mexico, right? And not just literally down to us, but actually from what do you want to call it? Reputation standpoint or whatever,
Yeah.
reliability, um, because we're doing surgery in Mexico, and there's a long story of why we do surgery in Mexico, and simply put, because we can give better quality of healthcare down there than we can do up here.
Definitely.
But having said that, people don't know that if 50% of the US population has heart problems, sooner or later, a good amount of those people are going to have a small piece of Tijuana in their heart.
Man.
You know what I mean with that? Not the all the stents made by Medtronic are manufactured in Tijuana. So
Yeah.
if 50% of the people have heart problems, a lot of these people are going to end up with a small piece of Tijuana in their
A
heart.
little piece of
That's my new slogan.
That's bittersweet victory. Yeah.
But going back to the addiction thing, you were saying it was. I mean, tell us about surgery. Was pretty straightforward for you. Not for your sister. We can talk about that. But
Yeah.
for you, it was pretty straightforward, wasn't it?
Surgery was very straightforward. The hardest thing about surgery was leading up to it. I remember like at 5 a.m. when that van came to pick us up, I looked at my mom and I'm like, nah, I'm not doing it. She's like, okay, think about it. Let's get there. And the whole drive there, I'm like, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to get there. I'm going to tell them, you know what? I'm out. And I get there and they say, okay, Steve, you're the first one in. I'm like, I don't have time to think. Okay, let's do it. And I came out and I remember just thinking, okay, this is it. It's done. You can't put it back. What's
Yeah,
the next?
we make wallets out of your stomach.
Hey, I bought a wallet down there. I wonder if it was mine. No, you look at that, and you're like, okay, what's next? It's done. There's only one way to go about it now, and it's full-heartedly. And so I remember the second I got back to the hotel, I delved into the notebook that we got, and I read all the information, and I studied everything on how this was going to work. And I got to it, and even when I had my call to set up the appointment, the second I got done there, they said, okay, we're emailing you something. And I said, this is what I want. I'm taking it seriously. And then the addiction definitely took its toll on me. I was not a happy person to be around. I remember my friends, my roommate, my mom, they would all just hang up the phone on me and send me a text like, hey, you're being a little rough. Yeah. But I mean, the small amount of time I struggled versus the way I'm living now, the food addiction was something that I look back on and it makes me almost emotional. I go into certain stores where I used to shop or certain restaurants. I look around at what I used to get, and I would get about 6 things, 3 of which to eat on the way home, so it didn't look like I brought too much home to eat. So I wasn't, I was hiding my addictions, and even bringing 3 burgers home or something is a lot, but I would eat 3 on the way to make it seem like I wasn't as, hungry or careless as I was being. But the curve really took toll after the surgery when I couldn't eat what I want, and I started feeling lightheaded if I ate the wrong thing. And I'm like, I need to get my nutrition and my protein in. And I started diving into the research. It turns out protein stays in your stomach longer than carbs. So I started eating proteins to stay more full. And, all these little things I was learning about what I was eating and how horrible the food I was eating was for me, not only physically, but mentally. The life I'm living now, I would have never guessed. I went to the store and I bought flaxseed and grain pita breads to wrap up my turkey meat in, and they have like 6 grams of carbs. And if you were to tell me a year ago that that's what I would be optionally choosing and I'd be happy about it, I would have laughed in your face and used it in my comedy bit.
Wow.
Yeah.
So for those of that are viewing online, remember this is live. This is a Friday, and as soon as I finish, I'm gonna go open a low carb beer. Try the organic low carb beer. It's spectacular. It's got 2 grams of carbs, and then I'm gonna make a guacamole. I might do it live. Why not? A nice guacamole, and instead of chips, I'm gonna use pork rinds, and that's extremely low carb. So the whole thing is like 2.5, maybe 3 grams of carbs, versus if you were using chips and a normal beer, you'd be up to like 50 grams of carbs easily. So is there anything that you learned over the next number of years as you lost weight? Something that hit you really hard that you said, damn, I never realized, I don't know, maybe about carbs or about nutrition, something like that.
The one thing I learned was that a calorie wasn't a physical thing. It was a unit of energy and all this stuff. I always thought calorie was like sugar, carb, calorie. And that just goes to prove that I don't think a lot of us were properly educated on what health is. I was talking to my buddy that I went to high school with, and we were joking about our health class and how much of a joke our health class was in high school, because we pretty much just, our teacher was the guitar teacher. So he just played guitar for us and played documentaries in the background. And we never really learned about health. So learning about, and then also learning about these different chemicals that they use that I just assumed were okay. I remember for a while there, I don't know if Starbucks fixed it, but for a while Starbucks was using a caramel drizzle in their drinks that was proven to cause cancer. Every other country had made it illegal, and America, because it's cheap and efficient, was still using it. And I think that was a big hitting point for me. I learned that a few years ago, and I realized at that point that there's things in our food that aren't healthy for us. The government knows, and it's up to me to kind of say what I need to eat. I can't lean on the government or McDonald's or any of these people that write thin and really small letters on the labeling to tell me that that's what I need to eat to make me thin.
Yep, exactly. But by the way, if guys are watching online right now, post your questions on Facebook or on our YouTube feed, and Gloria, who's also online, will send them to me, and I can post them directly here, or actually ask them to Steven. But in the meantime, oh, somebody just asked, what brand is a low carb beer? Look, I'm not getting any commercials. I'm not even getting a case out of this, but it's the low carb ultra. What is it? The Michelob Ultra. It's Michelob Ultra Gold, and they actually are 2 point something grams of carbs, and it's organic beer. By the way, most beers are not organic. Most of them have glyphosate. Glyphosate is basically the weed killer called Roundup. Roundup has been directly linked to obesity, diabetes, cancer, multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, ADHD, clinical depression, autism, and the list goes on and on and on. And 90% of the food, just like you said it right now, Stephen, 90% of the food we eat, even the food that looks supposed to be good for you, like all the fruits, all the vegetables, they're always sprayed with Roundup.
Yeah.
So I always tell my patients and anybody who listens to me, keep away from commercial food. Food agro industry and the food industry has really made it hard for us to survive. You know, we're the only mammals that become sick with what we eat. We're the only mammals that get high blood pressure, high blood sugar, diabetes, and the amounts of cancer that we get because we ourselves are killing ourselves with the food we eat versus mammals that are out in nature. And there's always somebody that says, wait a minute, but my dog's diabetic. Yeah, but you made him diabetic because you feed them.
Humans made his food. We're the ones that decided what's okay for him to eat. It's a rough circle that we're stuck in. And the trouble is that we have a tendency to turn our eye when convenience is at stake. And I saw a big swing go through when straws got banned from restaurants, when people stopped using plastic straws because they were killing turtles and whatnot.
Yeah.
And you look at the statistics, and those little K cups for your coffee do the same thing to the environment as far as deterioration to the environment. But people were able to take a stronger stand on the straw thing because it didn't affect their day-to-day life. They can live without straws, but they can't live without their coffee cups. And we need to take the same look of convenience towards our food. There's some things that are very hard for us to accept because we love them so much. We put a lot of emotion and we attach it to certain foods. But there needs to become a time when you realize that your health is worth more than that emotion that you've attached to whatever food it is you have an addiction to. And the hard part is that as well, that society, I don't believe, has fully grasped the idea that food addiction is very real. And it's something that's consistently laughed at, but it's you can get cut off if you're over drinking at a bar, but they won't cut you off if you're eating too much at hometown buffet. And both are likely to kill you.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the biggest killer right now is staying at home, man, because how are you coping with all this COVID-19 thing?
It has been rough. I've lost track for the first 2 weeks. I regressed into almost camp mode of s'mores and unhealthy food. And I got smacked in the face when I realized I was getting away from my 200-pound goal. So I jumped back on, and now I'm on a strict schedule. I wake up at 5:30 every morning. I'm doing this 2-week challenge called the 2-week shred challenge on YouTube. And every day you do this little workout routine, and then I come in, I make my breakfast. There's still farmers markets open here. Very limited. They only let in like 10, 15 people at a time, but I try and get most of my food from there when I need to. But, it's going back to just keeping fresh food and making sure I'm not sitting on the couch too long. I got alarms set for every 2 hours. I got to move.
Yeah, exactly. It's moving, and moving is about longevity. It's really
Yeah.
not about losing weight. And the other thing is what you put in your mouth. One of the most I have a hard time still convincing the medical community. There's few scientists around the world that have such a deeper understanding of what metabolic disease, not from a descriptive standpoint, more from what causes it. Eating 100 gram, or let's let 100 calories of this is not the same as eating 100 calories of that.
Yeah.
And people, and even the medical community says, oh no, this much calories in, this much calories out, and that's what counts. It doesn't. It's been proven that it doesn't. It's interesting that, and I'm going to try to say it in 30 seconds. When you eat carbs, you stimulate the hormone insulin, and insulin locks up your fat in place. And in fact, it grabs more of that sugar and makes more fat. If you stop stimulating insulin, you free up the fat so it can be used as energy.
Yeah.
And that's why diminishing the amount of carbs you're eating and increasing the fat and a good amount of protein will not have the same effect on your health than carbs do. And the problem is that carbs are hidden everywhere. And even if you're staying away from a box, a bag, a can, stuff with label on it, it's a barrage of carbs everywhere. It's so difficult to keep yourself with a 10% carb as a macronutrient and the rest fat and protein. Yeah. Because on the other hand, people are scared of fat. But anyways, I want to talk to you about how we hooked up recently together again in a call, or why. What was the reason?
Oh yeah. I'm willing to say I talked to her beforehand, but my mom here was thinking about getting the surgery. Our family, originally was me and my sister, Taylor Shipley, who's absolutely killing it. I think she's watching right now. I'm very happy for her success, especially through what she went through. Her story is crazy incredible. But my mom saw the success from my sister and I doing it, and we tried to get her to agree to doing the surgery a while ago, and she had some fears. And finally, you know, it came to the point that she called us and said, "Hey, I think I'm interested in doing it." One of the stipulations was we get her to talk to you because you're the all-knowing source about this. And you're quite amazing, and you've changed our lives for the better. So yeah, we got her on the phone with you, and it was amazing. I was so happy with the outcome of that call because she
Well,
was ready to try and break it down and find reasons not to do it, and there was really nothing.
and she was finding reasons because the first thing she asked was, "Well, doctor, what about I don't feel comfortable with the organ harvesting." I say, "What are you talking about, woman?
Listen,
What
but
do you mean we're harvesting? I want to make your stomach smaller. I'm not taking any kidneys or lungs or stuff like that." No, they maybe there's that misunderstanding that happens down below the border, but so
she
and then
had she had a little religious problem with it, tried to find a reason, you know, hey, God gave us the organs, why are we taking them out? And I'm thinking in my head, my sister's works in churches, she's a minister, she works with youth groups, and she did it. I'm like, she's much closer to God than we are, so it's I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure we
yeah,
got the pass.
we're called to preserve the temple of the Holy Spirit, which is our bodies. And sometimes you got to tweak a little bit here and a little bit there to
Exactly.
get the whole package back in shape.
Exactly.
And then,
Exactly.
and then she was worried about her age. And she did ask me, I'm 61. My oldest patient is 92. And if you can get to that age, more or less uh, healthy enough that you can tolerate a surgery, you're probably going to live 10, 20 more years. So
Yeah.
why not live a great quality of life? So she was worried. She was asking if someone older can do it. Of course they can do it. And it's the older you are, the the better the chances that it's going to better the quality of life and extend your life. So
Yeah.
so definitely. And things associated to older people, we haven't seen them. Maybe excessive spending on new clothes.
I know that hit me pretty hard. Uh, yeah, a big underlying emotional factor for her when I was talking to her was she had a fear that the remainder of her life was going to be spent struggling with a diet rather than living comfortably. And I think that caused a lot of issues mentally, and it's something that caused a lot of issues for me, which is, okay, what's life after surgery look like? What am I gonna what's my social life gonna be like? Am I gonna still be able to live my life? And I tried to tell her, and it's something that you don't really know until it happens, because your life pre-surgery is so revolved around appetite and food and social eating. I talked to my friends like, hey, let's catch up over pizza, let's catch up over burritos, let's catch up over steak. And I'm never like, hey, let's catch up over a hike. And I never thought to do it until now. So when I was given the option of, hey, we're going to take your food away, I was like, oh, you're taking my life away. But what I tried to convey to my mom when she asked the question was, it gives you so much more life. It takes away one small aspect, and in return gives you, I think the way I describe it usually to people is, I say, when you're playing a video game, and some games you see levels around you, but you can't go into them yet. You're not at the level to go into them. You can see them and you want to play that part of the game, but you just can't do it yet. This surgery unlocked those levels. I'm able to go on rides that I always saw and were never able to experience. I'm able to go on hikes. I went to Jamaica in January and I went waterfall jumping with my buds and stuff
Wow.
that I would have never wanted to do, because first of all, I probably would have never taken my shirt off. And second of all, I would be worried that I would injure myself. 425 pounds crashing off a 30-foot dive can do some pretty massive damage. So I tried to convey that to my mom when she was asking, what's the remainder of my life? Is this going to be a struggle for the rest of my life? And in my experience, it was a struggle for about 2 months. And even then, it made me extremely happy to see the direction I was going in.
Yeah, the change is dramatic, man. I mean, you're a hell of an inspiration, and not just because of that physical change. Obviously, you're talking about the mental change that had to happen, and it's going to happen because once you have a procedure, well, you're not going to be able to eat. I mean, you can't
Yeah.
stuff it down. So something has to give. And the beauty of this is that as you lose weight, you start enjoying things that you weren't able to enjoy, just like you're describing. And suddenly, well, your brain has to catch up, and you
Yeah.
start looking at the bright side, right?
You find that subconsciously you were doing things that you don't realize you were doing until you lose the weight. For me, it was I would walk into restaurants, and as the waitress was walking us to the table, I would subconsciously walk by chairs and shake them to see if they would hold my weight. And I didn't
Oh,
notice
wow.
I was doing this until I lost weight, and I did it. I'm like, why did I just do that? And it hit me that it's something I've been doing for years without even noticing it, because I want to see, okay, she's taking us to a table. Well, are these chairs going to hold my weight? Am I going to be able? Do I have to make an excuse to leave? What's my next game plan if these chairs are really flimsy $10 chairs? And so subconsciously, I always tell people, gastric sleeve didn't fix my weight issue. It simply redistributed my hope, and hope was stolen from me. And I was looking at, I don't think I mentioned this. The weight gain really started when I snapped my leg right before moving to Los Angeles. So not only was I moving somewhere new, but I had a broken leg. I was not able to be active. And that really helped with the very steep increase of weight gain. And I would constantly look back on these pictures of right before I broke my leg, thinking, man, I want to go back there. And that vision turned into simply just a dream and nothing more. And I realized there's probably something I was never going to be able to do. I would never be at that weight. I would never be able to shop at Target. And I was coming to terms with it. I wasn't really mad about it. I was like, this is just my life, and I'm accepting it now. And I am so, I don't want to cuss in front of people, but I would. I'm very happy with with the decision I made. I would not change it for the world. I'm stuttering just trying to think of what to say. It's changed my life.
And it's changed your life to a point. We were just discussing this earlier before we started the live cast, to a point that now you're actually leaving one side of the career you were doing, and you've been inspired to bring hope to. Tell me about that, man.
Yeah,
You're
that
this
was a
is so inspiring.
that was a very emotional decision for me, and one that I'm still freaked out that I made. But yeah, back in January, February, I started losing love for my position in entertainment. I'd been working in entertainment almost exactly 10 years at that point, 9 years maybe. And I I found myself losing the passion and the drive I had to go to work. And what I was finding to just, spread out my stress and anxiety over losing my passion from the only thing I know was cooking. And as I started cooking more, I'm like, wait, I love this. I'm making fresh, healthy, nutritious meals, and I'm learning about nutrition so I could cook better. I'm learning about cooking so I could understand nutrition better. And I said, let's quit my job, join culinary school. I was supposed to start culinary school this month, and that got pushed back. But I'm excited to start whenever all this lifts up, and then I could dive into the world of providing fresh, organic meals for people in my community.
That is crazy awesome, man. That's a big change. That is 180 degrees
Oh,
from show
it's weird.
business. Yeah. To
It's weird. It still stresses me out a little bit because it's like, yeah, well, I'm switching up, going to studios every day to becoming a line cook. But in the long term, I think it's going to pay off. I've got to pay my dues just like I did in entertainment, but a little later in life now. But I'm very excited because I do honestly believe that there's a large ignorance in I could only really speak for America about nutrition. And it's not really anyone's fault except for our educators, our government, our school system, and they've kind of let us down. And what are we eating? There are people all over LA right now eating convenience store food because that's the only food they have accessible. And my dream would be able to take a food truck down there or start a farmer's market and be able to sell at cost, because it's frustrating that there are people in this world that aren't able to get knowledge or on fresh food. So they're content eating lesser food And not only that, it's their only option.
Yeah.
So it's become a very big passion to me to help educate and help feed people food that will make them feel better about themselves. Because the way I feel now, when you showed that picture, I stopped talking. You showed the picture of me shirtless in one picture, me with the backwards hat in the other one, and the look on my face. I looked through these before and after pictures, and you could. I made it. I've been making TikToks recently, the new social media app, and they've been doing pretty well, and people have been commenting a lot on. I've been doing these montages of weight loss. One of the videos got up to 2 million views, and the biggest comment I got on it was that I look happier. You know, there weren't a lot of comments about, oh, you know, you're killing, your body's great, you know, you lost all. Everyone's like, you look so much happier. And I looking through those pics, I started realizing, yeah, I started remembering what I was thinking when I took those pictures, and the life I'm living now, I could look at and actually be proud of. And then I had to fake it. I was a very happy person socially, and I would get home and be like, man, I'm not where I want to be. You know.
Well,
but
now it's not about you; it's about others.
Exactly.
Because now you're
very
focusing
happy.
on that is awesome, man. So I'm gonna invite your mom later on. Maybe she would never be on the show, but maybe she will once she becomes a believer. I definitely want to invite your sister because she had an issue after the surgery,
Yeah.
and she struggled a lot, and we called her back down until she was at the hospital. We diagnosed her, gave her an IV, and kind of got things back into shape. And then,
you guys did things that they couldn't figure out up here, and the fact that she stayed, I got very worried. There's a big possibility when you go through stuff like that to lose faith in the system, the whole process that we've done. And I would call her and I'd be like, okay, we still on track? And she'd be like, oh yeah, I'm not done. And I'd be like, there we go. We're still doing it. It inspired me because I'm like, okay, if she's not quitting, I have no excuse. Yeah.
yeah,
But
she had it tough for a while.
she had it very tough. There was actually a couple questions I was wanting to ask you, if that's okay.
Sure.
It's stuff that I get talked to a lot, and I don't really know the medical explanations for things like this, but I think the biggest thing that brings a lot of people down, and what I found through the OCC Facebook page, which was a big thing for me, and it's a big thing for me now, still spreading my message and helping people out. But a big issue I see is people kind of being ashamed of doing the sleeve because they think it's a magical fix all. And I've explained from my point of view how it's not a magical fix all. There's still a lot of work that needs to be done. But do you think from a medical standpoint, you can kind of give me stuff to say when people ask the question on how this isn't just to snap your fingers and it's all fixed?
Yeah, definitely. So it's look, you're gonna get. There's always the haters that are gonna call it a cop out, right?
Yeah.
You're taking the easy way out. It's not an easy way out. I will actually do surgery on people that have normal weight.
Mm.
Okay. That talks about how useful the procedure is. And you're like, wait a minute, but it's weight loss surgery. How can you use it for people that have normal weight? Because it's not about the weight, it's about the metabolic disease. Now, you had 200 pounds, dude, and you would carry it every breathing moment of your life. You're damn strong. Those legs must be super strong because you would live with those 200 pounds, but you weren't as you're young and you weren't as affected as many other people are because you've got people that are toffies. Thin on the outside, fat on the inside. Tofi. Thin on the outside. So they look good, they carry their weight well, but half of their body is body fat. And those are the people that can benefit from a metabolic surgery. My goal is not for the patient to lose weight. Yeah, you're going to lose weight. I don't care about that. I want you to be metabolically fit. And then everybody says, but what does that mean? Metabolically fit means that your insulin, it's the main hormone. It's the one that makes it or breaks it. Your insulin has to be very low.
Yeah.
And if it's not low, then you're going to have high blood sugar and have diabetes. Or if it's not low and it's high, you're going to have a heart attack. Or if it's not low and it's high, then you're going to have high triglycerides, high cholesterol. It's called dyslipidemia, and you might have a stroke.
Yeah.
Or if it's high, you're going to have 3 times the probability, the risk of getting cancer. 3 times. In fact, you can't really grow a lot of the cancer cells in the lab if you don't have insulin. This is why when I tell somebody weight loss surgery, it's really metabolic surgery. And the problem that is unseen is that 7 out of 10 people in the United States are overweight or obese, which means that 7 out of 10 people have metabolic disease.
Yeah.
But recent study looked at the whole population between 2009 2006, the adult population in the US, and they found out that 12% of the US population is metabolically fit. Means
That's
that's almost 90% of the US population, 9 out of 10 people have something wrong. Either they're overweight, they have high triglycerides, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, high blood sugar, high insulin. And that is not in his disease itself right now, like in your case, but give it 5, 10 years and it just explodes. And then
yeah.
that limits your life, your quality of life, that damages your vascular system. And once you have vascular damage, then you're at a very high risk for a mortality. And you've seen it with the COVID-19 thing. Who's the biggest at risk population? Obese, high blood pressure, diabetics. And the unfortunate fact is that that's a lot of the United States. So yes, this surgery is not just to lose weight, it's to revert the disease, and it's the only thing that consistently will revert the disease. It's going to change your progression to chronic and progressive disease to holy moly, all my numbers are normal. And now you can actually thrive on those numbers and you'll be free
Exactly.
of disease and cancer and all that stuff. So I
I
hope that
think
answers the question.
it definitely does. I think that sticks right. I always tell people, when I was losing weight, a lot of people came to me saying, "You don't need to lose weight. You're beautiful the way you are," which is cool. I get it. I know I was beautiful. I was a pretty sexy larger man, but but that was just them punching in the idea that weight and beauty are correlated, and there's truly no correlation with my health and weight and my beauty. The only correlation that should be shared with my weight is my health, and it needs to stop being about, oh, you're doing this for this reason and that reason. No, I'm doing this because, like you said, wait 10 years, you might have metabolic disease. Wait 10 years, I'm there's a chance I might have been dead. 425 and counting. That's not a likely rate to make it up into 40 plus. And so I did this for anyone, if anyone's watching or watching later, wondering like, oh, everyone's body positivity telling me I'm beautiful the way I am. Don't do it for beauty. Do it for your quality of life and for your future, because at the end of the day, your beauty does not correlate with how you look physically. It's how you act mentally. Like I said, when I posted the video, the biggest comment was my smile and my happiness. It wasn't your body and your calves, So I don't know. I hold a very strong emotion to the fact that this needs to be done for the right reasons, and the right reason is only for health. There's really no other reason to do it. And we all need health. Like you said, most of America right now needs that step up, that little push.
Yeah, and I've had a lot of questions right now saying, when am I going to open? Soon, as soon as the travel restrictions are over. And how are you going to protect the patients? Just like I protected them before. They're all wearing masks. We all use all our distancing and all our stuff. But ultimately, I've got probably 3 months of already scheduled patients simply because they're waiting for that right moment to come down, get the surgery, go back, lose all the weight, revert the disease. And as soon 2-3 weeks later, when all the biomarkers change, when the blood sugars start diminishing, when the cholesterol, triglycerides, when the body fat starts diminishing, at that moment, 2-3 weeks later after surgery, people have lowered their risk of having a severe infection with the COVID-19 and anything else for that matter. So we're trying to hurry up. We're waiting. We're
Yeah.
stuck here in this studio.
I remember my mom was asking you. She was asking, her big worry was about COVID too, and your response was, I loved it, saying, "Hey, you're less likely to get these diseases in the future after getting the surgery than before." Also, can I just say, I'm not going to name the place I was thinking about going to before OCC, but it was a UC school here in Los Angeles, and very very highly regarded doctors, and I gave up that surgery to go down to Tijuana with you, and I got nothing but the best care. I mean, the nurses, everyone, everything was safe. So anyone watching thinking, "Oh, what's Tijuana like?" First of all, it's gorgeous. The beach is amazing, and second of all, the facility itself was probably better than most of the ones I've gone to here in Los Angeles, if not the best out of any of these. And there's nothing I would worry about. Just coming from me, just not getting paid or anything like you and the beer. That was a
That's awesome, brother. I appreciate it. And the truth is, the world has changed after this COVID-19 thing dramatically. So the globalization of healthcare is more evident than ever. Right now, there's been so many walls that have been torn down, and all this red tape that's always been an issue in the healthcare industry. It has to revolutionize the way we treat and care for our patients, because there's so much red tape that the patients are getting very low quality care. The timeliness of care is not there, and that's something that has to be expedited. And finally, it has in some areas, like you've seen how now you don't really need a state license to practice from point A to point B because it's so highly needed. uh, I believe that healthcare professionals are underappreciated.
Mhm.
We are living a high risk situation, and our only goal is to help. Our only goal is to provide care. And I think things are going to change. I also believe that more and more, I've struck up partnerships with several organizations in the United States, soon to be announced,
Yeah,
uh, with our new hospital. And these are international collaborations because healthcare in general, the science is more or less level all across the globally. But when you actually look at the institutions, some have much more advantage over others, some because of technology, and some because of the ability to provide care with quality, on time, uh, with which is adequate for the problem to be treated, etc. So that's what we're all striving for: excellence. And I believe the world, this COVID-19 is going to bring something good to healthcare in general.
I agree. I agree. Definitely.
So, my friend, we're out of
Yes,
time.
sir.
I think I have one more question here.
Of
Somebody's
course.
asking a question. They're asking, oh, it's kind of like your mother's anxiety. Somebody that just said that they just scheduled with us. Is there medications that we're gonna give them to relax? Of course, we're gonna drug you. You're gonna feel high in the sky. You remember that part, right? You were funny, dude. You had everybody cracking up at the hospital.
I remember I was like 5 minutes out. I was like, okay, I've got to use the restroom. I started walking, and my mom was like, "Are you supposed to be doing this?" I'm like, I gotta pee. I don't really care.
You were literally 5 minutes out of the surgery, and you were already walking.
I was walking 5 minutes out. That's when I realized maybe there was nothing to be scared of. Hey, thank you so much, Dr. Ortiz. I mean, honestly, the question about the easy way out was a big one for me because it's the one I get a lot, and I can explain it emotionally, but explaining it medically is a whole different viewpoint. And I'm sure other people are going to find help in that as well because it's one a lot of us get. Why'd you take the easy way? It's like, but
Yes, it wasn't easy, but it damn sure opened some horizons for you, man. Some new
definitely,
horizons.
it restarted my life. I'm doing a whole new thing now,
Well,
different person.
I like I said, we spoke earlier this week. I definitely want to team up with you, see how we can help you, how we can collaborate, because I know you're doing something spectacular, and the 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 more we reach people, the more we're going to impact their health and
Yeah.
their well-being. So I'll definitely be on board with you.
Sounds good. Thank you so much.
All right, my friend. Well, the best to your family, and I'm gonna have your sister on. Hopefully, she wants to join us because she's got the other end of the story where all didn't go perfectly well, but there's a lot behind that story to learn, right?
Definitely. I mean, I learned a lot from it, just visualize, just seeing it. But definitely.
All right, brother. Take care. God bless. Stay safe.
Will
And
do.
I'll
Have
talk
a
to you
great
soon.
day.
All right,
Bye.
man. See you guys.